បន្ត ពី section ទី 1 យ៉ាងពីព្រឹកមិញនៅពេលនេះយើងបន្តពី section ទី 2 នៅក្នុងសន្និសីទថ្នាក់ជាតិស្ដីពីសេដ្ឋកិច្ចការងារឆ្នាំ 2024 យើងក្រោមប្រធានបទតាក់ទងជាមួយនឹងផែនទីបង្ហាញផ្លូវស្ដីពីយុទ្ធសាស្ត្រនៃការអភិវឌ្ឍមូលធនមនុស្សសម្រាប់ការត្រៀមខ្លួនក្នុងការចាក់ចែងពីប្រទេសអភិវឌ្ឍតិចតួចរបស់កម្ពុជាដោយយើងបានពិភាក្សាគ្នាតាំងពីព្រឹកមិញរួចមកហើយថាប្រទេសកម្ពុជាយើងនឹងចាក់ចែងពីប្រទេសដែលមានពីក្រុមប្រទេសដែលមានការអភិវឌ្ឍតិចតួចនៅក្នុងកំឡុង 3-4 ឆ្នាំក្នុងអាចម្ដង 2029 ខាងមុខនេះដូច្នេះនៅក្នុងការចាក់ចែងនេះប្រទេសកម្ពុជាយើងនឹងមានជួបបញ្ហាប្រឈមមួយចំនួនក៏ដូចជាឱកាសនៅក្នុងក្រោយពេលចាក់ចែងពីប្រទេសនៃការអភិវឌ្ឍតិចតួចនេះដូច្នេះដើម្បីជាឆ្លើយតបនៅក្នុងការបញ្ហាប្រឈមនៅក្នុងក្រោយពីការចាក់ចែងពីប្រទេសនៃការអភិវឌ្ឍតិចតួចនេះកម្ពុជាត្រូវបានត្រៀមខ្លួនយ៉ាងដូចម្តេចខ្លះនេះគឺជាប្រធានបទនៅក្នុងការពិភាក្សានៅក្នុង section ទី 2 នេះដោយឡែកដើម្បីធានាពីការអភិវឌ្ឍសេដ្ឋកិច្ចក្រោយការចាក់ចែងនៅក្នុងពីប្រទេសអភិវឌ្ឍតិចតួចការអភិវឌ្ឍមូលធនមនុស្សគឺជាកត្តាចម្បងបំផុតនៅក្នុងការទ្រទ្រង់ក៏ដូចជាទ្រទ្រង់សេដ្ឋកិច្ចជាតិក៏ដូចជាដើម្បីរក្សានៅផលិតភាពក៏ដូចជាការអភិវឌ្ឍជំនាញដើម្បីជាកិច្ចចាប់ផ្ដើមនៅក្នុងការពិភាក្សានៅក្នុង section ទី 2 នេះជាបឋមខ្ញុំសូមធ្វើការអនុញ្ញាតរៀបរាប់អំពីជីវប្រវត្តិសង្ខេបរបស់វាគ្មិនយើងទាំង4រូបដូចតទៅទី1សូមគោរពស្វាគមន៍អាដាមព្រិញសុភាណាអាដាមព្រិញសុភាណាគឺជាអគ្គលេខាធិការនៃអគ្គលេខាធិដ្ឋានក្រុមប្រឹក្សាជាតិប្រាក់ឈ្នួលអបបរមានៃក្រសួងការងារនិងបណ្ដុះបណ្ដាលវិជ្ជាជីវៈអាដាមគឺជាអ្នកជំនាញក្នុងគោលនយោបាយសាធារណៈនិងស្រាវជ្រាវផ្នែកអភិវឌ្ឍនិងការស្រាវជ្រាវស្ដីពីទីផ្សារការងារការដឹកនាំអាដាមបានធ្លាប់បានដឹកនាំការស្រាវជ្រាវជាច្រើននៅក្នុងក្រសួងយើងមានដូចជាការស្រាវជ្រាវតាក់ទងនឹងការប្រាក់ឈ្នួលអបបរមាទីផ្សារការងារស្ថានភាពម៉ាក្រូសេដ្ឋកិច្ចក៏ដូចជាការគ្រប់គ្រងមួយចំនួនក្នុងការរៀបចំជាគោលនយោបាយមួយចំនួនអាដាមធ្លាប់បានទទួលអនុមណ្ឌិតចំនួន2គឺតាក់ទងជាមួយនឹងផ្នែកគោលនយោបាយសាធារណៈនិងការគ្រប់គ្រងអភិវឌ្ឍនៅក្នុងក្រមក្រសួងការងារនិងបណ្ដុះបណ្ដាលវិជ្ជាជីវៈដែរអាដាមធ្លាប់បានដឹកនាំស្រាវជ្រាវតាក់ទងជាមួយនឹងទីផ្សារការងារសកម្មក៏ដូចជានិន្នាការទូទៅនៃប្រាក់ឈ្នួលជាដើមសម្រាប់វេគ្មិនទី2សូមគោរពស្វាគមន៍អាដាមបណ្ឌិតសាខនដារ៉ាពីអាដាមបណ្ឌិតគឺជានាយករងប្រតិបត្តិនៃមជ្ឈមណ្ឌលអភិវឌ្ឍកម្ពុជា CDC បច្ចុប្បន្នអាដាមគឺជាជំនួយការប្រធានផ្នែកគណៈកម្មការសុខាភិបាលសង្គមកិច្ចនីតិយុវជនការងារបណ្ដុះបណ្ដាលវិជ្ជាជីវៈនិងកិច្ចការនារីនៃរដ្ឋសភាអាដាមក៏ជាអនុប្រធាននាយកដ្ឋានទំនាក់ទំនងសាធារណៈនៃគណៈកម្មការកណ្ដាលនៃសហភាពសហព័ន្ធយុវជនកម្ពុជាផងដែរអាដាមធ្លាប់គឺជាអនុប្រធានទី1នៃសាលាត្រាជូចន្លោះឆ្នាំ2014និង2018ហើយអាដាមក៏ជាធ្លាប់បានសិក្សាថ្នាក់អនុបណ្ឌិតតាក់ទងជាមួយនឹងគ្រប់គ្រងដែនដីនិងសហគ្រាសពីសាកលវិទ្យាល័យ Render ពីប្រទេសបារាំងក៏ដូចជាសាកលវិទ្យាល័យពាណិជ្ជកម្មក្រៅប្រទេសនៅទីក្រុងហាណូយប្រទេសវៀតណាមផងដែរអាដាមក៏ធ្លាប់បានសិក្សាថ្នាក់អនុបណ្ឌិតតាក់ទងជាមួយនឹងច្បាប់ពាណិជ្ជកម្មអន្តរជាតិពីសាកលវិទ្យាល័យ Westminster ទីក្រុងឡុងចក្រភពអង់គ្លេសផងដែរក្រៅពីជំនាញទាំងអស់នេះអាដាមក៏ធ្លាប់បានក៏មានចំណាប់អារម្មណ៍សិក្សាស្រាវជ្រាវតាក់ទងជាមួយនឹងច្បាប់សាធារណៈនយោបាយទំនាក់ទំនងអន្តរជាតិក៏ដូចជាសេដ្ឋកិច្ចនយោបាយផងដែរសូមស្វាគមន៍វេគ្មិនទី3យើងសូមគោរពស្វាគមន៍អាដាមអ៊ុំសុធាលោកបណ្ឌិតអ៊ុំសុធាបាទសូមលោកបណ្ឌិតគឺជាទីប្រឹក្សានយោបាយជាន់ខ្ពស់នៃកម្មវិធីភាពជាដៃគូកម្ពុជាអូស្ត្រាលីសម្រាប់ការអភិវឌ្ឍសេដ្ឋកិច្ចប្រកបដោយភាពធន់ដែលយើងហៅកាត់ថា Hybrid ដែលជាកម្មវិធីសហប្រតិបត្តិការទ្វេភាគីនៃដែលគ្រប់គ្រងដោយរដ្ឋាភិបាលអូស្ត្រាលីសម្រាប់កម្ពុជាលោកបណ្ឌិតធ្លាប់ធ្វើជាទីប្រឹក្សានៅបណ្ដាអង្គការនៅអន្តរជាតិនានាក៏ដូចជា ADB World Bank និង UNDP ជាដើមលោកបណ្ឌិតធ្លាប់បង្រៀននិងដូចជាស្រាវជ្រាវនៅសាកលវិទ្យាល័យនានាក៏ដូចជានៅក្នុងប្រទេសកម្ពុជាក៏ដូចជានៅបរទេសដូចជាសិង្ហបុរីអូស្ត្រាលីនៅ Fuji ក៏ដូចជាបានបម្រើការនៅ ERA នៅទីក្រុងចាកាតាប្រទេសឥណ្ឌូនេស៊ីផងដែរលោកបណ្ឌិតបានទទួលសញ្ញាបត្របណ្ឌិតផ្នែកសេដ្ឋកិច្ចពីសាកលវិទ្យាល័យ Monash ប្រទេសអូស្ត្រាលីនិងអនុបណ្ឌិតផ្នែកសេដ្ឋកិច្ចពីសាកលវិទ្យាល័យ Kobe ប្រទេសជប៉ុនផងដែរសូមស្វាគមន៍វេគ្មិនទី4យើងសូមស្វាគមន៍លោកបណ្ឌិតដុកទ័រ Iván González de Alba ខ្ញុំសូមអនុញ្ញាតរៀបរាប់ជីវប្រវត្តិរបស់គាត់ជាភាសាអង់គ្លេស Dr. Iván has been working as a senior economist under UNDP in Cambodia since 2022, and he has led and also supervised many multi-sector as well as multidimensional poverty, also vulnerability, graduation-based social protection, and as impact evaluation, macroeconomic modeling, and also and many other tasks to support LDC graduation. Dr. Iván has collaborated with key government counterparts, including General Secretariat of the National Social Protection Council and the Ministry of Economy and Finance, and also National Bank of Cambodia, and also Ministry of Planning also. Dr. Iván has worked as an advisor for the Minister of Social Development and Urban Development in his home country in Mexico. Yeah. So ដើម្បីជាការចាប់ផ្ដើមដើម្បីជាមូលដ្ឋានគ្រឹះក្នុងការពិភាក្សាបន្តទៀតនេះជាកិច្ចបន្តខ្ញុំសូមអនុញ្ញាតគោរពអញ្ជើញវាគ្មិននេះដើម្បីធ្វើការបទបង្ហាញចំនួន2ដែលបទបង្ហាញទី1សូមគោរពអញ្ជើញ Dr. Iván. Yeah, please Dr. Iván, please make your presentation. Yeah, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction and then for the opportunity to be the first to present in this second session, the one after lunch. I'm really impressed by the number of people attending. Very good, congratulations, very disciplined people. So basically this presentation is to give you more an introduction on overview of the situation of Cambodia's LDC graduation. So review some of the potential impacts of LDC graduation. This is based on 2 studies that we conducted using macroeconomic modeling. And then perhaps go through the pathways of human capital development and what would be the implications for this. So let me just quickly go through what does LDC graduation mean. And maybe I know that you are all very well aware of the difference, but then maybe it's just good to insist that LDC graduation is not the same as income status. World Bank income status is based only on gross national income per capita, and the categories of low income, lower middle income, upper middle income, and high income country status depend only on the income level. LDC graduation, on the other hand, depends on 3 indicators, and this is a UN classification. This includes GNI per capita, also Human Assets Index, and the Economic and Environmental Vulnerability Index. So I don't want to go deep into the indicators, let's say, but then just to note that in order to graduate from LDC status, a country needs to meet the graduation criteria, so these 3 indicators, for 2 times, so in 3 annual reviews. The indexes, I mean, as you can see, are composite indexes. They have a lot of different indicators, and maybe I can just mention a few of them. The Human Asset Index has the part of health and education, which, by the way, are pretty much related to human capital. And then you have part of those indicators, under 5 mortality rate, maternal mortality ratio, stunting, lower secondary school completion rate, adult literacy rate, gender parity index for secondary school completion. And then on the other hand, the economic and environmental vulnerability index has these 2 components, and then other things like share of agriculture, hunting, forestry, and fishing, remoteness, landlockedness, merchandise export concentration, etc. No, I'm not going to read them all. So Cambodia met for the first time in 2021 the 3 criteria, and then for the second time in 2024. Just note that what you see in the slide, for the economic and environmental index, the value is below the threshold, and that is because we want less vulnerability, not more vulnerability. So the threshold indicates that the country needs to have less vulnerability than the threshold. So Cambodia met all 3 indicators in 2021, for the second time in 2024, and the Committee for Development Policy and the ECOSOC recommended already a graduation period of 5 years. Before COVID-19, graduating countries had usually only 3 years to graduate. But in the context of COVID-19, the countries in the cohort of 2021 received 5 years. We all understand that it was because there were some challenging context due to COVID-19. For the 2024, countries had the possibility of requesting an extended period, and Cambodia requested an extended period of 5 years, and it was granted. So I think this is actually good news, and we are going to see why later. So potential socioeconomic impacts of LDC graduation. Last month, we launched together with the Ministry of Planning this policy brief on that summarizes the 2 studies. The 2 studies using, one is the Dynamic Global Trade Analysis Project, the GTAP model, and that, by the way, was conducted by Dr. Sotia here, also in the panel. So if you have questions about that, he would be the right person to answer them. And the other part was the Dynamic Computable Equilibrium model, the DCGE model, to estimate the potential impacts of that. So as part of the analysis, we did this, let's say, the revision of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And as you can see, there's a lot of text in the slide, so I'm not going to read it to save some time. I'm just going to go through some of the key in each column. So for example, in terms of strengths, one of the things that Cambodia has is young and affordable workforce with a high internet adoption rate, also a high women labor force participation as part of the strengths that are related to the labor market. In terms of weaknesses, then we have here, for example, lack of high skilled and productive workforce, and also on uneven playing field and high level of informality. So those are the weaknesses. In terms of opportunities, again, if I go directly to the ones in relation to the labor market, then we have Cambodia has the opportunity of improving human capital and skills, and this is very important. And also obviously on the economic diversification, etc. But then this is a key aspect. In terms of threats, then again here we have one of the things that was mentioned in the first session in the morning is that Cambodia could reach the Lewis turning point. Dr. Chandre very kindly explained what that means before. And also, there are other threats in terms of natural disasters, etc. No? So one of the main impacts of LDC graduation is in terms of the loss of trade preferences. And that means a lot more or higher tariffs for Cambodia. Cambodia would lose the specific duty-free, quota-free schemes that any LDC country receives. More stringent rules of origin. So this, for example, right now, a product to be labeled as made in Cambodia requires only 30% of value added. After graduation, that may increase up to 60%. And not only that, but in addition to having one transformation, Cambodia, we need to have a double transformation. Yesterday with Dr. Chandre, actually, we had a consultation workshop on this topic. Also, the withdrawal of some of LDC-specific special and differential treatment under the WTO agreements. This includes the TRIPS waiver for intellectual property. This impacts, for example, medicines. And in terms of cooperation, we have seen that Cambodia is already declining in ODA grant, mostly, and we expect that this decline in ODA grant will continue after graduation. There may be other financial implications, for example, the subsidies and for government officials to attend international events, etc. Those may be fading out after graduation. So in terms of trade is, as we said, is very important. So basically this summarizes a bit of the impact. And as you can see, in the case of the US is one of the most important markets. For Cambodia, it's already applying the most favored nation. That I don't know why it has that name, but then it's the worst possible scenario. If you are in the most favored nation scheme, then that means that you're paying the highest tariffs. And right now, Cambodia is paying zero tariff for example, for the EU and Canada on garment, textile, footwear, travel goods. Also on zero tariffs for EU and Canada on bicycles and other cycles. Zero tariffs for rice for the EU and Canada and also for other products. And after the graduation, it depends if Cambodia is able to reach GSP Plus or GSP, then could have one column of tariffs, and if not, then would go to MFN. The policy brief, let's say the summary that we did is, and we did this for the impact of between 2027 and 2030, and that was because we conducted this analysis before knowing that Cambodia was going to get a 5-year graduation period. But then it doesn't matter. The impact is still revealing, and it doesn't matter that it is for 2027 to 2030. We can actually extrapolate that for 2029 and 2032. The impact could be more or less the same. In terms of export loss, would be 772 millions. In terms of GDP slowdown, that would be a decline between 0.5 and 1.5 of the GDP, depending on the scenario that we are looking at. In terms of employment, this could represent about 165,000 people unemployed, with a higher proportion of that of women working in garment factories. In terms of poverty, 432,000 people could slip back into poverty, and obviously this would represent a challenge in terms of achieving the Cambodian SDGs. So this sounds terrible, but then let me say that this was the worst scenario. This is the business as usual. This would be the scenario if Cambodia is doing nothing, is not taking any mitigation measures, etc. And it's not the case. The fact that we are already having this conference, for example, and we are discussing the implications of LDC graduation in human capital and in the labor market, etc., is because Cambodia is more than willing to adopt as many policies as necessary to turn this challenging context into an opportunity for growing and for economic diversification, etc. So one of the things that we can mention is that these studies were used to inform the CPD, the Committee on Development Policy, and perhaps also because of this, or at least partially because of these reports and the impact that these reports show, it was that Cambodia was granted a 5-year graduation period. So we had a number of recommendations from those studies. Obviously, we have enhancing competitiveness and sustainable transitional pathway, export diversification, but the last two are very important for us. One is unemployment aspect, and this perhaps refers to advocate for lower rules of origin thresholds. And the second is for expanding social protection. So these two things are very relevant not only for the general population, in general for Cambodian workers. Let me just jump here quickly to the human development part and the human capital part. And as you know, UNDP is the UN house of the Human Development Index that has been published since 1990, over 30 years. And as you can see in the graph, Cambodia has made remarkable progress in terms of the HDI. In the left-hand side, you see Cambodia in red. The world is the blue one, and Asia and the Pacific is the one in green. And then the components of this Human Development Index for Cambodia over this same period of time. And as you can see, the average is the red one. The higher dotted blue line is on life expectancy that tries to reflect the health dimension. The lower dotted green line is on education. So education is perhaps the area of opportunity that shows greater gaps in the case of Cambodia. And then the kind of orange is the GNI per capita. You see progress in all three, but then obviously the life expectancy is the one that is showing the most remarkable progress. So what lays ahead in addition to LDC graduation? There are some people call this the polycrisis. So what are some of the elements of this polycrisis? When one is that, well, in the national context is that Cambodia hasn't reached its pre-pandemic potential, so it's still not growing at 7% GDP. But then also we have the triple planetary crisis in terms of climate change, biodiversity, etc. Then we have this low-skilled workforce and high informal activities, around 88%, global and geopolitical uncertainties, and obviously some gender disparities that are prevalent in Cambodia. So all these are some of the challenges that we need to take into account when we try to figure out. And this is part of a study that we did for foreign direct investment in terms of attractiveness to the country. And here again, there are other things like the price of electricity and trade openness, but two that call our attention is human capital, that if we compare to our neighboring countries, Thailand and Vietnam, Cambodia is ranked 164 out of 191. So it's one of the worst. And also in terms of wage levels is also quite ranked as worse. So this already gave us some of the hints of and the lessons of the areas of opportunity for Cambodia. No? Several studies, and just to summarize very quickly in terms of what can we do to strengthen human capital for the country. Obviously, at the center is governance and institutional support. We need to build strong institutions that are accountable, that are transparent, that respect the rule of law, etc. But then at the same time, we have 5, perhaps not related to the pentagonal strategy, but then in terms of labor policies, digital skills, health and nutrition, vocational training, and improving education quality. So let me stop here. I think this is just perhaps an overview of the situation, but then this would also open for my colleagues to comment and for the following presentation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Thank you very much, Dr. Iván, for your very informative presentation.